Welcome to the live stream, everybody. Today we're just going to take a look at Bitcoin. We can look at altcoins. If anyone has any altcoin requests, I know I've been talking about Solana a lot lately in the group chat. That's kind of been my coin of preference lately for a few reasons. But yeah, other than that, we're going to start out by looking at Bitcoin on a few different time frames. I'll show the typical strategies I like to use with these indicators. I know I show these in pretty much every video, so if anyone's unfamiliar with them, you can kind of get a better feel for what I'm pointing out in some of my screenshots and stuff in the chat. But yeah, basically looking at Bitcoin on the 4-hour right here. My moving averages are actually set to my degen scalping, so these moving averages, they look like strong support here, not necessarily so. The cloud, yes, so it's nice to see that we do have this green cloud. One thing I was talking about in my previous video was I don't like that these W's are still trending to the downside. And obviously what I mean about that is if I zoom out here, I really like using these. This is the reversal warning on the MDX ALGO 3. Let me just bring up where that is here in the settings, reversal warning. So that's these W's here. And I just really like to use them to point out which way the trend is going when I'm kind of picking which direction I like to choose my scalps in. And they can quite often, and this works on many different time frames. I mean, all time frames, I've kind of seen this be a thing. In choppy markets, it's not necessarily as strong, but when you get into these trending markets, like, man, you can really get some strong signals with these. So here, for example, our W's, here we had them, we had a high, we had a higher high, we actually even high, higher high, higher high. So the W's were actually trending to the upside. Same with on the bottom here, we had one down here and then a higher low up here. And then after that, we can see that basically we started getting these warnings that, these reversal warnings weren't climbing anymore. Pretty much straight across, basically a double bottom. If you zoom in, it's actually just very slightly lower low here with the W signal. And that's just a bit of a warning to me. It wasn't necessarily a sell signal yet, but the way I use this strategy, that's just a bit of a warning that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be as bullish as I was, because when we were trading back in this area in June, July, I was quite vocal about being extremely bullish. And you know what? I was wrong. That's totally fine. I just kept buying this support down here, basically, looking for scalps whenever we would basically get down near this support box. And the trend will be your friend until the end. Eventually that momentum ran out, we lost this higher low structure, and then we just started trending to the downside, and the W's confirmed that. So we have this low, we have a slightly lower low, we had this high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and it wasn't until this one here that we actually got a bit of a reversal here. So any one of these W's, I wouldn't count this one just because that was still trending to the upside, but as soon as these pulled back to the downside, so we had a very slightly downtrend on the bottom, then we got our confirmed lower high here. That was just an absolutely beautiful short entry, lined up with this supply zone that the ALGO 3 pointed out. The moving average cloud was showing red, just a lot of things that were really going for the bears in this case. And after that, basically any time, if you would have taken any one of these W's, obviously, since they're trending to the downside, you're only looking for the top W's, not the bottom ones. But as long as they're still trending the same direction, any one of these top W's would have been a beautiful short. So we're not giving as much credit to these reversal warnings, the bullish ones, because they are trending to the downside. So even if it is a nice temporary reversal, quite often they won't last in that case because they are just trending lower, right? So like I said, any one of these W's would have been a beautiful short, and that goes on lower time frames as well. Obviously, if you can notice this kind of a trend on a larger time frame, that can help your bias on the shorter time frames. So if I see that, on the 4-hour, these reversal warnings are trending to the downside, then I can confirm that the 1 hour is also trending to the downside, the 15-minute, the 5-minute, the 1 minute, whatever you kind of prefer trading, right? Because not everyone trades the same. A lot of people in the group are obviously swing traders. I myself am more of a scalper. So I like the degen smaller time frames, the 1 minute, the 5 minute, anywhere up to an hour basically. I still do look at the longer time frames, but like I said, it's just kind of to notice the trend with these sorts of things. So here would have been our warning that things may be reversing, right? Because we finally lost that trend of lower highs and we set a higher high. However, we never had that on the bottoms yet because we obviously still had low, lower low. So at this point, this wasn't necessarily a buy signal yet. It would have absolutely worked out if you bought this signal here on candle close, because they're not confirmed until candle close, and then take your next bearish W as your take profit, or even closing half your position, updating your stop loss, stuff like that. That's kind of one way that I like to use these strategies as well. And one thing that did catch me a little bit off guard is I did say that I was going to be extremely bullish since we had the tops reversing, just that little bit of a warning there, that if we got a higher low to coincide with that, so we now have W's trending to the upside from both directions. So this was actually a very nice signal, or what would typically be a nice signal. We did get further downside, and we did get just another warning right off the bat. It was the thing here. So right now, things are pretty undecided. Like I said, I got very bullish with this W here, but as soon as we got our next W was lower again, it was just a bit of a warning once again, right? At that point, let's just clean things up a little bit. Hopefully you don't mind this. I'm just going to play-by-play with kind of how I look at these W's and pick which way they're trending. But so at that point, when we set this lower low, we didn't have the tops coinciding with it anymore. So it's starting to get a little uncertain, but we're just kind of starting to get warnings, right? So even though we had these trending to the upside, then the bottom started trending to the downside right away. So we lost that bullish bias. Then what happened? Well, we set a lower low, or a lower high rather. Now that is where I consider it a sell signal, right? Because we now have these coinciding with each other. And you know what? It actually did play out quite well. I mean, this W wouldn't have been confirmed until it closed, so down here. But you still got a very nice move to the downside there. So as it stands right now, it's looking a little bit uncertain again. I mean, to be fair, they are still trending to the downside, and that's why I'm having a hard time shaking my bias right now, is these W's are really trying to point out a downtrend. The one redeeming factor here for the bulls that I will give this so far is that we're not really getting a lower W on the top again. So I have a little bit of a feeling that we're actually going to pump a little bit higher and maybe see another W just slightly higher, something like that. In which case, once again, it's not necessarily a buy signal, but a bit of a warning that the trend may be shifting. And that's when looking for strong buy signals, that's where I would be looking for a higher low W. That quite often comes with a very nice play when you start to see these trending, especially when it does turn into a trending market, and on longer time frames like this, quite often it does. You may end up getting quite a large move if we say, let's say we do set a higher low here and the market is starting to trend to the upside. I mean, we don't have a ton of resistance if we break above this yellow box here. We do have this little supply zone up here. Yes, we got shut down up here, but I really think, I mean, really, even those with leverage, those are decent sized moves. But if we do break out to the upside, I wouldn't be too surprised to see the price test up a lot higher, kind of getting up towards that 29,000 for one. Just retesting this supply zone here. There's a whole bunch of supply zones up here from the ALGO 3. So just showing us a lot of resistance up ahead for Bitcoin, no matter how you look at it. There is just this whole bit of structure back here as well. I mean, there's quite a bit of trading in this little range here. So even a little lower than the supply zones. We do have a lot of old support there that may flip into resistance. So like I said, even if we do get a nice rally for Bitcoin, I just don't know if it's actually going to stick. And again, we also have these diagonal support lines, have these mapped out from quite a ways back. This is the 4-hour chart, so fairly significant structure there, in my opinion. So to see that we lost those trend lines there and then got that flip of support into resistance, that's just a little bit of a bearish confirmation in my mind. Again, I have to look at both sides, because as traders, one of the most important things we can do is just consider both sides of the argument, right? You never want to be too certain about anything, because the market can always prove you wrong. So you always want to just ensure that you are ready for the worst case scenario. Always assume that there's a chance, and a good chance, that you could be wrong when looking at setups. So just switching my bias a little bit here from bearish, even though when I say bearish, I'm still giving it a lot of leeway that we could see a nice bounce. But from a bullish standpoint, we are actually testing very nicely this higher low support. I just want to clean things up a little bit here for you guys. Get rid of some of my arrows because they're freaking everywhere. So yeah, just looking at basic structure and setting higher highs and higher lows. Let's just say, we had a high here. We ended up breaking that, got all the way, on this little pump here, where did we get to? We got all the way to up here. Lowest point between the two would be way down here. And then we actually set another higher high here. So the lowest point between those two is right here. So this is the confirmed higher low that I'm watching on this trend. I think if we lose that, there's absolutely a good possibility that we see the market dump to much lower levels. Just looking for basic structure points, significant pivot points in the market. We could be expecting, some of these levels a lot further down. Not to try and scare you, and not to say it's going to happen. We may see Fibonacci levels come into play and stuff like that. You guys know, those of you who do come into my streams quite often know I love the 786 and the 886 Fibonaccis. So just taking this swing, kind of where I was talking from, that we had this low before our next confirmed higher low there. If we just see to where we could pull back to if we lose that higher low, I would definitely consider the possibilities that we end up testing down to the 786, 886 Fibonacci. I know the 618 is the fib level that everyone loves to watch. I find in crypto so often the 786 and 886 fibs are respected quite well. And that's actually what led me to take profits on a beautiful short when we did get this capitulation. When we just had this hot knife cutting through butter here, I caught a beautiful short there with one of my other strategies with the MDX ALGO 3, which I can talk about a little bit later because I pointed out a scalp with it earlier today. But when I was looking for my profits on this little dump, when we broke this structure here, that's one thing that I was watching was, well, if we don't lose this higher low, what are some Fibonacci levels to watch? And look where we are just totally respecting. I mean, yeah, we have some wicks below it, but the majority of this trading has been right in that 786, 886 pocket. So the market does love to draw towards those Fibonacci levels. So if we do lose this support, and again, that's a big if, anything can happen, then we could start looking for some of these lower Fibonacci's. And like I said, there's absolutely the possibility we drop right back to the next support level there too. So there's a lot to watch for right now. The market's at a very interesting place. I don't know, it does really look like a bit of a rounding top, almost a double top. Broke diagonal support, retesting that support as resistance. There's just also FTX, more FUD coming out of that exchange. The fact that, actually I believe it's today, the courts had just ruled that they're able to start liquidating assets. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but because I'm not normally a fundamental guy, I normally just kind of draw shapes and trade them. But I believe it was something along the lines of $3.2 billion, $3.4 billion worth of assets or something that they're going to gain access to selling. It sounds like they're only allowed to sell 200 million, only 200 million a week, I believe it was. So it might be a little bit of a controlled capitulation, but there's just a lot of things in the market that are kind of pointing towards the downside. That being said, even if we do end up seeing a massive sell-off, and let's say we blame FTX for it, whatever, let's say we're getting rejected and we end up testing some of these much more significantly lower price levels, we're going to have to see what the price is looking like when that selling of FTX's supplies run out, basically. Because, I mean, another thing to watch for when you're looking for market reversals is watch for when fundamentals don't seem to matter anymore. Like, especially in bear markets, any bearish news can scare the hell out of the market very quickly. Fear is a very strong emotion. And when you start to see big events that should be very bearish not affecting the price anymore, that's kind of telling us that, well, there's just not many paper hands left. There's a lot of people just either willing to sell or willing to hold, or just they have already sold, right? So that's something to watch for. I remember last market cycle at the basically, I think it was even before COVID. Actually, yeah, it was before COVID, or right around that time. I was basically saying that, there's a lot of bearish in the news, and between, I think it was BitMEX, which was one of the biggest exchanges at the time. They had a bunch of FUD around them. We had COVID, the economy, the recession was coming, all that sort of stuff, but the price stopped moving. And that to me was just a signal that things were looking a little more bullish. So that's just something to keep in mind in the future. If we start seeing very bearish headlines and the price isn't really reacting bearishly to it, maybe just consider the fact that, that some of that supply may be soaked up. So with that, guys, I'm going to dive into some shorter time frames here. One thing, just looking at this very immediate swing here, I am expecting a little bit of a rejection here, and my reasoning for that is just basically, since we had this pump, what was that, a week or two ago? Since we had that pump, just looking at the structure since then, we just kind of kept setting a series of lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high. We actually did end up breaking that level, but then so let's just consider this would have been our lower low. We set this high here. We ended up breaking that lower low. So as it stands right now, this yellow box is kind of the resistance level that I'm currently watching, right where we're struggling with right now, basically. I think this is going to be fairly significant resistance. If we can get back above this and see the price start testing this box as support rather than as resistance, I think then Bitcoin's going to be in a very nice position to start making some higher grounds. I mean, obviously, we'll have to watch this resistance back here. And as well, like I said, if we get up towards those diagonal supports that I had mapped out from quite a while ago, just have to consider the possibilities that there might be a bit of a support resist flip there. So those are a few things I'm looking at kind of on a longer to midterm trend. Taking a look at some shorter time frames. Let's hop over to the 5-minute here on Bitcoin. Does anyone have any questions about the indicators, by the way? Specifically the MDX ALGO ones, I'm much more familiar with those than the Trendmaster ones. But let's just see what we see on shorter time frames here. Let's hop right into my favorite. Let's hop into the 1 minute here. See, actually, there's a perfect example of look how beautiful of a sell signal that was. This one, to be fair, would have been a little bit more risky because we never had the lower lows going with it yet. But just, you can see how powerful that is. I will give a little more credit to this signal. Like I said, we don't have the matching lower lows to go with these lower highs. But the fact that it lined up right on one of my moving averages here, and for anybody wondering about my settings or anything, just go to my ALGO 3 settings. So I'm on the 1 minute chart because I'm a degen scalper like that. And my trends number 1 is the volume weighted moving average 21, and that's the 5 minute, and that would be this one right here. I also have the EMA 1 hour, which is down here, this green line coming up. And That's another way I love to use these reversal warnings, is seeing them right along those trend lines, because quite often you can get such tight stop losses with them. Typically speaking, I obviously didn't take this trade, but had I taken this scalp short, just because, like I said, we have a W, it would have closed right about there. Basically right as we were testing that 5-minute trend. Beautiful scalp entry there. Generally speaking, I would keep my stop loss above the previous W if that's the strategy I was using. The other thing that I really, like I said, I love to see them off trend, my trends with the ALGO 3. The 1 hour trend specifically, I have had a lot of luck with in the past, and it can turn into such a beautiful trending situation. If you get into a trending market, and anytime you hit this 1 hour EMA, basically then it kind of starts forming W's along it as you're testing it. Oh man, you can get into some beautiful running positions like that, where you can, take profits along the way, reduce your risk, come back down, retest that moving average, see your reversal warning as it retests it, add back into your position. Stuff like that can turn into very beautiful positions. So that's just kind of a few ways that I love to use the ALGO 3, and they all, honestly, every way that I use this indicator, I pretty much use these W's, those reversal warnings. It's probably my favorite signal with the indicators. And just to keep my charts fairly clean, you can see I don't have a ton of the signals. I don't have the buy and sell signals. I don't even have the take profits, the trend exhaustions, the divergences and stuff like that. I think a lot of those other signals are beautiful as well, but just for the sake of how I keep my charts and just looking for the way these are trending specifically, I like to keep my charts fairly clean. So, evening, Steven. How's it going today? Welcome back. I know you're familiar with these W strategies. I never did catch this scalp here. Beautiful to see that we did have a lower high on that trend, but what can you do? Wasn't looking at it at the time. What's Solana doing? Solana is, and I don't even know if I want to consider this. So this is a little bit of a higher low. We never got... Here, let me just check. Yeah, we never even got a candle body close above this level here, so I don't know how much I want to consider this a higher high here. It looks more like a failed break to me. But if this was higher than this, like with that actual candle close, I'd be tempted to long this right now, just because I would be looking at this as a higher low, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. Also, the other indicators aren't really showing us too much. It kind of looks like we're in no man's land. We do have this resistance up above us. This is Solana, sorry if I didn't mention that, because as I mentioned, I have been watching Solana a lot lately. And one of the reasons I was just talking about FTX, you guys, I believe Solana was one of their bigger holdings. So I'm open to the possibility that, there could be a lot further downside for Solana than, let's say, Bitcoin, which may be a little bit more resistant to the panic, right? Altcoins, generally speaking, react more aggressively than Bitcoin does, and especially if there's one particularly with FUD around it. I mean, we've seen what happened with, what was it, Luna? We saw what happened with FTT. Sometimes, I mean... There's a lot of people out there who made a lot of money with not a very large position just by shorting the right thing like that absolutely collapses. And I really don't think that's the case for Solana. I want to make that clear. I'm just open to the possibilities that there might be a little bit further downside than, let's say, Bitcoin, for example. And it's just been respecting basic market structure quite well. So that's one that I'm very interested in. Yeah, see, so far it looks like it is struggling with this level. It is still trying to find support. We still do have this little demand zone. But it just... I don't know if I want to bet against the bears right now. What do we have here? Yeah, even ever since... Basically since we topped out right here with our lower Ws. And actually, that's where I took a short earlier. I posted a picture of that in the group chat. That was a perfect example. You can go into the altcoins chat, I believe it is, in the Discord. and I pointed out that I had taken a short on Solana. It was after like we were well into the position, but I was just basically showing you guys how I do that, right? Is we had a high here, we had the lows trending lower with our W's, and then we got a lower high W as well, and boom, there's your entry. Stop loss was just above this one a little bit of wiggle room in case of a fake out. And then I just played this drop here. And again, whenever I get a W on the opposite end, even though they're not trending yet, that's generally speaking, since like I said, I am more of a scalper, that's where I like to close at least a quarter of my position. With this one, I closed half of it and then set my stop loss to break even on the rest. So at least I profited a little bit before it reversed. But that's kind of how I like to use that strategy there. So I'm very interested to see what happens now. I would love to see... Oh, it's too bad that these W's are still trending into the upside, because I don't trust a long yet right now, since, yeah, just since we never got much of a reaction from a signal like this. In my opinion, if we were going to carry on higher, I think we would have seen it there. There was a lot of things going for the bulls there. We had... excuse me. We had our W's start trending to the upside. Bottom got a higher low as well. Candles, since I'm on inverted colors, we started getting those bright green candles. The oscillator 5 up here, or oscillating bands now I think it is. There was a lot of these indicators got renamed very recently, but I'm going to call it oscillator 4 up here. We had this bullish pivot which lined up with this on the ALGO 3, and as well the oscillator 5 down here, we got that big oversold dot. So there was a lot of things lining up with the indicators, and I love when the 3 indicators line up like that. I'm actually tempted to take a little short on Solana right now. I think we missed the good part of the move, but I'm really tempted just because this looks like it's we have a lower low. This would be our lower high, and we're struggling at it right now, right in a supply zone. I'm not going to, because I'm busy right now. I don't want to get sidetracked, because like I said, I think I missed the optimal move. But yeah, like I said, I would have expected a nice move from the bulls at this level, just because of how that worked out there with everything lining up. So the fact that we lost that just seems like we're going to start trending W's to the downside again. So gonna have to watch what happens. But let's say, you know, we get, let's say, a lower high, or sorry, a lower low W, and then get some kind of a bounce, and then we see a lower W come in kind of like that. That may be a nice short opportunity as well. Oh, I guess maybe I should have taken that scalp. But you can see, as I was saying, Solana seems to respect market structure so well, and that's a perfect example. This is a freaking 1 minute, and a very tight micro range of a 1 minute, and just to see how well that structure actually plays out is quite impressive, and that's one of the reasons that I've been trading it as well. Now, you have to consider, as far as that type of structure, I mean, that move may have played out already. I mean, that's a very tiny micro analyzing kind of a thing. It may turn into something, you know, if this is going to trend to the downside. That makes perfect sense that we did get rejected there. Also, you can see this little white triangle. That's also on my ALGO 3. That's the tops and bottoms. Normally they're blue, but they're kind of hard to see, so I changed them to white. But yeah, it's looking like that may... I'm mad at myself. Right before the stream, I actually did have a short up here, just because we had so many supply zones there, and I accidentally closed my position. I bumped a button that I didn't mean to, and I closed it, so I'm missing this move right now. Oh, that's too bad, but whatever. It is what it is. Is anyone else in any positions right now? Is there any altcoins you guys want me to go over? Any indicator features? I'm going to start bringing up some random features with Bitcoin, just to kind of go through some of them, see if we see anything interesting, notice anything that we should look into for backtesting for different strategies, stuff like that. But I'm definitely open to taking altcoin requests if you guys want me to check any specific charts or anything like that. I'm going to regret not taking that, aren't I? Not like it's been a huge move yet, but I've generally been trading with 25x on Solana. Nothing crazy yet, but it would have been a few percent already. And I actually, something else I'll mention, I've been asked before when I'm doing these tiny little scalps, like, do the fees not eat me alive? I trade on MEXC. I've been trading there for a few months now, mostly because I used to trade on Bybit and Binance, and had issues because I'm from Canada, and Canada's getting strict on all their regulations and shit. No KYC with MEXC. And they actually just made me an official partner the other day, you guys. So I have a referral link. I'll put it in my video and stuff like that. I don't want to spam it all over the group chat, but if you are needing an exchange with no KYC, you just want an extra exchange, I also have, for my first month, they're giving me crazy trading bonuses. You can get up to $20,000 for a free trading bonus. Obviously, you have to deposit quite a bit of money for that kind of thing. But there is very good incentives right now, and their fees are by far the cheapest that I've seen on any centralized exchange. And with my referral link, you also get 10% knocked off your trading fees for life. So there's some pretty good incentives there. I will post my link later, and it'll also be in my video when I do post it on my YouTube channel. It'll be there. So if you're looking for another exchange, that's something to consider. They have, I think they said over 2,000 trading pairs or something like that. A lot of altcoins there. So I've been really enjoying it anyways. And up to 200x leverage if you're a degenerate like myself. So, but with that, what else can we look at, guys? Yeah, you use MEXC. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it for the last, I don't know, I think I've been using it 3 or 4 months now. Something like that. But especially for us North Americans, I did actually have to use a VPN to make my account, but I don't need it to actually trade there. Like, they don't care, but my internet service provider had blocked me from the website. So that's something that you may need if that's something that interests you. But yeah, any other altcoin requests, guys? I'm just going to be flip-flopping between Bitcoin and Solana, basically. What do we have here? You know, we do actually... the W's are conflicting. I like that, you know, we had beautiful uptrending W's on the 1 minute for Bitcoin, but we did reverse that. That's that one I was talking about earlier. So that kind of makes me a little more hesitant to pull the trigger on a long with this, because technically this would be a nice signal if we didn't end up trending to the downside here. And you know, this is another perfect example, guys, as far as a scalping situation. You can see that we ended up getting these W's back here, started trending to the upside, right? After that, we got a higher low, and look at that entry. That is just an absolutely beautiful entry. Could have taken profits along the way, obviously, because that's another thing. A lot of people think trading the 1 minute is super dangerous, super degenerate behavior. And you know what? They're absolutely right. It can lead to horrible things like over trading, over leveraging yourself, all those habits that you're not supposed to have as a trader. But as long as you actually have a system in place, as well, being, first of all, knowing, the most important thing is knowing, again, preparing for worst case scenario, right? So know how much money you're going to lose if you're going to lose your position. Always assume that you're going to lose, even if you're pretty confident in it. And what else was I going to say? There was something I was going to say. I'll come back to it. But yeah, what can we look at here? What time frames? Ave, let's check it out. And you are on Mexi as well, not spot. Yeah, let's see what we can find here. Start out by mapping out a few things of my own here. What time frame do you normally look at? Just out of curiosity. Not everyone's into the 1 minute like myself. Holy, that's a big support zone. Generally speaking, when we find a bottom, the way I like to map out my support, I don't necessarily just do a line right at the wick or the body. I like to make a box for the whole wick or kill zone, whatever you want to call it. I would be looking at something like that for support. So the fact that we're we never dumped right through it. The fact that we're still closing some green candles and stuff inside this wick zone, I mean, not all hope is lost yet. Let's see if we can find, since the theme is wedges, Wedge Wednesday, let's see if we can find anything. Map out a few diagonal trend lines to watch for. What color should we? Let's make them red for resistance. What can we find here? Generally speaking, when I'm looking for wedges, I really like to have at least 3 touch points. So I'm actually liking what I see here. This is very, very close. I'm going to consider that a touch. But starting with this touch, this is going to be considered 1 touch because it's one little cluster. The fact that we do have 3 touches on that trend line, if we end up, like obviously we have resistance catching up to the price right now, which could absolutely just nuke that coin. But that being said, since I do consider this a downward sloping valid trend line at this point, if we end up breaking above it and then kind of getting a flip from resistance to support, even maybe we kind of bounce off the top of this box, anything like that, I think that this coin could be in very good hands. But obviously we do have that resistance still, kind of at a very important level, in my opinion. We're right at support, but we're coming into resistance as well. So, I mean, technically speaking, you want to buy support and sell resistance. And right now we're kind of really coiling up between the two. Let's see, we do have more support down here as well. What else do we got? There's actually a lot of support levels very close by. I guess I shouldn't say that close because this is a 4 hour. It's probably a bigger percentage than what I'm used to. But yeah, so 14% possibly to the downside to even find that support there. But yeah, right now, what I would want to see from a bullish perspective, first and foremost, is breaking out of this red diagonal resistance line. That would be a very good start to actually break, some bearish structure on a more horizontal level. I'd be looking at more something like that. You'd obviously want, so if we break that diagonal level, get some kind of a resist support flip, I don't really see a reason why we couldn't end up targeting these much higher price levels. And if that does happen, that's a very nice move from here. That's over 25% to the upside before you'd test next serious structure on the 4 hour here. So that might be a very nice move if we do break that resistance line. Obviously that is if this resistance holds as support. If we just get some kind of let's say close above then close back down below, I would be a lot more hesitant to be bullish in that case. I'd even consider watching how we retest the line from the bottom side again, because this may have just been some kind of a fake out if it happens, and then that might be a beautiful short opportunity if that is to play out. A lot of what ifs between now and then, but just something to watch for there. In my opinion, I think I think these are basically the lines that I would want to watch on that for now. What if we zoom out even further? What else can we draw for bigger trend lines? Let's make the real big ones white here. Map out what else can we find here for some kind of resistance. Actually, there's a perfect example. I was talking about, breaking out of a trend line, even though this does have more than 3 touch points. 4 touch points, got that little breakout, and shut right back down. So that's where, in that case, with this trend line, for example, I would really want to see a 4-hour close above. Like right now, it is almost looking like a juicy short opportunity. Just kind of looking at very micro analyzing here again as far as a 4-hour goes. Just saying that, let's just consider this our high, this was our low, and then we broke that low, giving us a lower high. Actually, one sec. Let me zoom in even further here. Okay, no, I'm wrong on what I was about to say. But there is also, I guess, this horizontal resistance here to consider as well. These are all just levels to be watching for right now, right? I mean, let's say we do get this close above this diagonal resistance, flip it into support. Just also be aware of how the market reacts at this level because, again, it is a little bit of a lower high structure when you're zoomed in, kind of looking at the closer, more immediate trend there. Just something to be a little bit cautious of. But yeah, we start breaking that. Obviously, you want to be taking profits along the ways anyways, right? That way, even if you're wrong, you can be making some profits. If you're, let's say, taking profits along the way, updating your stop loss to break even and that kind of thing. Those are all would be very good take profits, in my opinion, if this is to break out. Oh, actually, that's what I was going to say before when I was talking about the 1 minute and stuff. Just, you're not trading, let's say, the 5 minute, or you're not trading the 1 minute and hoping for a 4-hour move, right? That's where I was talking earlier about taking profits quickly, especially when I'm scalping, closing a quarter to half my position very quickly and updating my stop loss because, yeah, you have to be taking profits based on what charts you're playing. I mean, it's always fun when let's say you get in on a good 1 minute trade and you think you're the smartest person ever and you've caught this beautiful swing, so you start doubling or tripling down on your position and it'll usually bite you in the ass. Because usually when you have those emotions, it's a signal that you should actually be taking profits, reducing your position size, not adding to it. So something to consider there. Just make sure you are taking profits along the way. You're not looking for home run trades. Yes, it sucks when you're taking profits responsibly along the way and it does end up being a home run position. Yeah, that always hurts and it makes you want to do that next time to just hold your full position. But again, the markets are generally trending sideways. There's a lot more chop than just straight rips. We spend a lot more time trading sideways. So if you're responsibly taking profits as you go, so even if you're wrong on positions, you can be making money. Just chances are you're going to do a lot better in the long run than just trying to catch those home run trades, right? Let's zoom in. You said you normally look at the 5 minute and the 15 minute. Let's just start zooming in. See what the 15 minute says. What do we have here? The oscillator 4 up here and the oscillator 5 down here are kind of not showing us too much yet. Looks like they're getting near oversold territory, but that doesn't necessarily mean much. We don't have any of the signals showing up yet. kind of looks to me like we're going to end up trading down, kind of testing some of this supply zone down here. Just because, you know, we do have, or sorry, demand zone down here. We do have this supply zone that showed up here. This moving average on the shorter time frame is showing up. Let's see what the 5 minute says. Really get our degen on here. So here's one of those times where we had a warning, right? You know, again, let's say if we were going with these trending W's, we had the highs that started trending to the upside. So we're setting higher highs, and then what happens? You get a higher low. That would have been a beautiful entry, even though it was short-lived. I mean, you could have caught it as far as scalping goes, and since we're on the 5 minute, that is scalping. That was a nice buy signal. Obviously, once again, taking profits along the way, right? But now we got to realize what we have as far as looking at these W's, and my strategy there is that we have now got this warning signal, right? Because we have this low and we have a lower low here. So that to me looks a little bit bearish. That being said, we do not have the lower high yet, which is generally a more of a sell signal than just going off this alone, but this is definitely a bit of a warning. Let's get right into it. Let's get into the dirty stuff here. 1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute as well. We're starting to test the 1 hour trend, but it's looking weak. And it looks like the 5 minute trend is just trying to push it down. We have this little double bottom so far. Kind of mixed signals, right? Because the 5 minute volume weighted moving average is showing resistance. We have a little bit of supply zones here, which are resistance. But we also have the 1 hour, the 1 hour EMA catching up to the price here. There is a little bit of a lag on the 1 hour trend when you're looking at the 1 minute chart, but I'm just kind of eyeballing it, just saying, you know, it's something approximately like that. I'm not sure why it is like that on this version, but again, it is what it is. Looks like we're starting to struggle with it, but generally that is quite strong support. So yeah, like I said, there's really mixed signals when you're really zoomed into the 1 minute here. Once again, I am really tempted to take a short just because we keep seeing these W's trending to the downside. What I'd be more into seeing, though, would be a little bit of a bounce and just seeing another W come into play right along our 5 minute moving average. Something like that might be a nice short entry. Then you could have your stop loss just kind of above some other structure. Does that all make sense when I'm talking about my strategies? Do you guys find that informative? I obviously don't want to keep going over it if you don't, but I know a lot of people have mentioned it in the past. I've seen other people that have kind of added that to their quiver of things to double check before entering a position, is just seeing which way the W's are trending. Hopefully I'm explaining myself clearly. Again, here, this one would have been risky because we never had the lower low to go with it. But again, it was right by that 5 minute EMA, and that was not EMA, volume weighted moving average. And again, that was a beautiful short signal right there. The indicator name, it's changed. It was the MDX ALGO 3. Now I believe it is MDX Trendmaster Advanced Trend. Actually, I'll double check that. Let's shut it off here. Advanced Trend, I believe that is the one now. And then I can go through setting up yeah, there we go. And I will go through my settings with you then. I will set it up the way I normally do. And obviously there is no magic numbers, you guys, that are always going to work. And it's just, these are going to be the settings that I've used in the past year or so, ever since I've had these indicators, basically. So there's no magic numbers that are going to work every time. It's always important to do your own back testing, find out what catches your own eye, because I am explaining the way I look at it and my strategies the best I can. But I mean, we could have the same indicators, the same settings, the same trend lines, the exact same charts, and we could trade the market completely different. So you still got to find out what works for you, but I will absolutely do everything I can here to make you guys comfortable with it. So first thing you want to do, now that I have my MDX ALGO 3 or the advanced trend set up, I'm going to right click. You can either right click anywhere and go down to settings, or just click on the three dots. Or actually, no, sorry, don't go to settings. My bad. Go to visual order, bring to front. And again, you can click on those three dots, visual order, bring to front. Sometimes if your candles look funny or you're having weird graphic issues, sometimes usually that has always been the cause, I'm pretty sure. So then that just keeps everything nice and crisp and clean. Invert color is something I do. I just think it helps mentally to see green when you should be thinking about buying, and red when you should be thinking about selling, because yeah, as you climb, they're turning red, obviously. Take profits along the way. Momentum, the color, I use gradient 1. That does not matter at all. That's just personal preference. And so this is more so what you're after is trend 1. I use the VWMA, and I use 5 minute. Trend 2, I use EMA 1 hour. Actually, yeah, there's something else I'm going to go into in a sec here as well. But as you notice in my charts before, I actually don't have the signals on. I don't have the take profits. I don't have basically any of this. The only thing I have is reversal warnings. Supply and demand I usually have up. The moving average cloud I have up. But that's it. I keep her pretty bare bones. But yeah, there's my settings. If you need me to post a screenshot later, by all means, just shoot a message in the group chat after this video, and I'll be sure to share you a screenshot. But yeah, that's my settings. Fairly simple. This is looking bearish to me. The fact that we got a bearish cross with this indicator, that is looking bearish. I wonder if there was an update. It looks like this is pretty much keeping up with the price now. But yeah, basically what I would like to see now is some kind of a bounce and testing these trends with W's. And I mean, it's not going to work every time, but man, I've got into some beautiful positions just because I find that I can keep such a tight stop loss for the size of moves that signal can call. And I know in my last stream I was talking about it when we had that big market nuke that I was talking about. Where was that? Back here. Exactly what I did was I just ended up taking one of these. Except it was on the 1 hour. So let's say in this case, that would be this guy up here. But basically the setup we had this 1 hour kind of coming down. The price ended up testing it. First of all, actually, how did it go? It was something like we had some structure up here for a bit, came back and retested it. We got a W. Let's see if I can find it. I guess that would be the smart thing to do, hey? Oh, on the 1 minute. Actually, never mind the 1 minute. That's going to be impossible. Basically what we had the 1 hour trend doing its thing. Price got up there, ended up getting a W after testing it. It basically just got slightly above it. Tested it like so, came back down, started retesting it as resistance. And I basically just had my stop loss something like that, just above where there was a bit of a supply zone there, if I remember correctly, but just a little bit above the W that it formed after faking out above the 1 hour trend. And I ended up I was in a 69x short because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a bit of a degen. And my stop loss was like within $30 I believe it was, and I ended up catching about a $4,000 move with it. So it was just one of those cases where even though I was responsibly taking profits along the way, I never caught the whole move with my whole position, or even a large part of my position. But even taking profits along the way, I ended up making over 30 times more than I would have lost had my stop loss been hit. Because like I said, I had how much I was going to lose figured out, and then by the end, like the amount my account had grown, it was over 30 times the amount I would have lost had I got stopped out. So that's just one of those setups that the risk reward can be so good when you have those setups, that's just kind of one of the reasons why I absolutely love using those strategies, basically looking for those reversal warnings along the trends and which way they're trending. Those are two of my favorite things to do when analyzing charts right now. So what I want to see right now is ideally see a bit of a bounce and then see another W. Thing is, if we get a W along this 5-minute trend, I'll probably start a bit of a short, but I'd be more interested to do it along the 1 hour trend. You just, obviously it's a bigger time frame, just carries a little more weight. I really like to enter positions along the 1 hour trend. That being said, guys, I never set blind orders. I don't know what your guys' rules are about that kind of thing, but I always want to see how levels are reacted with before I enter my positions. I don't want to, if we have the 1 hour trend up here, I'm not just setting a random limit order right there. I want to see that it's actually showing a bit of resistance on a shorter time frame. And that's where I really like the trend features of the ALGO 3. Just the fact that, even though I'm on a 1 minute chart, I have a general, a bigger view of the market because I can see the 5-minute trend, I can see the 1 hour trend. You can load up as many of this indicator as you want, and you can have trends all over the place. I know some people in the group will have about 8 or 10 trend lines going from this thing. And I mean, it's very interesting, but these are just these are the two that I've used, and I really like being on the 1 minute and being able to take a look at kind of the longer, and not a long-term trend by any means, but up to the 1 hour, I think absolutely plays a part in what the 1 minute is doing. Oh, did I did I confuse you? Like here, for example, if it was talking about... Okay. Yeah, there's some people who are loading up a couple, so in that case, let's just give you an example here. I turn everything else off. So we have the 5 minute, the 1 hour. Let's just throw on the 4 hour and the 8 hour, just for shits and giggles. So yeah, again, just showing more important averages basically. So just levels to watch if you get to those levels. But yeah, when you can start seeing a bunch of these trends starting to line up with each other, it can be a very powerful signal as well. I know one of the guys in the chat who has the most of these that I've seen in the group. I know he goes right down to the 2nd or 5-second chart or whatever it is. And when he can see them start crossing and stuff, it seems to be a very, very interesting strategy there. I've only ever used the 2 at one time, but yeah, I really like these trends. And like I said, the reversal warnings, basically, those are the key things to my scalping strategies. Ooh. So here on the oscillator 5, down here we got some hidden bearish divergences starting to form. I'm really tempted to start laddering in a low leverage short. I want to see that reversal warning. Gotta stay disciplined. altcoins can I look at? Bitcoin, these are trending down very slightly, as are the top ones. So that's something to watch for. We might get another sell signal, something like that. Might call for a nice scalp on Bitcoin. And this is why we wait. We might get a better price. I probably won't stream much longer, because at this point we're just basically going to be watching the 1 minute for a little while. Does anyone else have any questions or anything? I'll probably stop recording in the next 5 or 10 minutes here, just because when the streams get long, they take a really long time to upload for me. So probably wrap things up in the next 10 or 15 minutes here. Pending. W pending. Or other altcoin requests or anything, but and any questions about any of the other features or anything, I am going to bring up, let's bring up the trade setup. Let's see how that does with an altcoin like Aave, I believe. So I don't know how much, like, I always love to choose my own entries, so I typically don't use this feature either. When I do, I like to keep a looser stop loss, but that's just how it's calculated for a 3-to-1 risk reward kind of a thing. But this did give a long signal. I don't trust that because, like I said, I strongly consider which way the W's are trending when I'm looking for my positions. Let's see what it's saying on longer time frames. You know, yeah, let's just see what happens. The 5 minute, this thing is short here. It would have recommended going short right about here. Has not been stopped out, obviously. Hasn't hit TP1 either. You know, there is starting to be some bullish signs, though. Might get a little more of a bounce. Bright green candles, oversold on the oscillator 5. What else can we bring up? What else? Let me know if there's any features you guys want me to go over. Support and resistance, it just kind of throws out horizontal levels for you. Oh, we might be just going straight through. Maybe we will test that 1 hour trend. Now, to be honest, you guys, I've never traded this pair. I have done no back testing on it, therefore, and I have no idea if these strategies will work. But I mean, just from a quick glance, I mean, it looks like it would be a thing. I'm just going to get rid of that. It's just distracting me a little bit. And we might have a little bit of an entry soon. As far as Bitcoin goes, had this low. This is a lower low. Highest point between the two would be right here. As far as a micro 1 minute trend goes, this supply zone is actually mapping out our lower high. On a very micro level, just since we topped out here. Oh, I said I was going to get rid of that. Well, I guess it nailed that, though. Took the long, hit its TP1. I don't like that this 5-minute trend flipped green here. I'm going to start a small short, but I'm going to be very clear this is a little bit higher risk. The fact that we just got this bearish cross and we already got back above the 5-minute makes me think that there's a little more strength there than I'm thinking. But taking a little one. Oh god, if I can get my... Guess I should have had this loaded on my phone before, hey? Thumb case, there's the man. I was just talking about your multi-ALGO 3 strategy. So we do have the trending W's. I don't like that we had the bullish cross of the 5-minute, but again, we do have the 1 hour that has flipped bearish. So we got some mixed signals right now. Bearish pivot here. Oh no, I'm just looking at the screen right now. I was saying when you first got here that I was just discussing your multi-ALGO 3 trend. A little strategy there. I've done it a little bit here and there. I haven't been trading on it, but I've been taking a look at it a little bit. I like what you're on to there. I'm still more into my reversal warning strategies. Just because I haven't played around with your strategy yet much. I like how colorful it is. You know, I love how I love having a colorful chart. Oh, nice. So you're looking for which way the W's are trending, and let's say like you get a higher low W on one of your trend lines, then that's a buy signal type of a thing. Same on the opposite end, obviously, a lower high and retesting a bearish trend or something like that. It's crazy how even on a 1 minute like this, basic structure gets respected. Like I said, that low, lower, low, that's our lower high, and already you can see that even if it does break to the upside, you can just tell that it's obviously an important level of structure, even though this is zoomed right into a 1 minute, right? And people say technical analysis doesn't work. Oh, starting to hint at a little bearish dot here. You look for failed W's, then take the calls from the regular divergences or a W along the trend lines on the opposite side. Yeah, okay. I believe I'm understanding that the way I was thinking. What's Solana doing? What's up to the old 1 minute? Ooh. I feel like after a pump like that, Solana's going to be next to start dumping here, but wait and see if we get something like that. EMA 5 minute, EMA 1 hour. Is chart freeze or is it just not moving anymore? I haven't messed with the Trendmaster indicators too much. A little bit. You can see that I have one of them up generally. I was kind of using... Holy, look at that gap straight down. Is there not much volume on this pair or something? Kind of tempted to take profits on that already since it was a little scalp. Sitting at a 5% profit on that guy. Screw it, let's see what happens. Oh, where was my entry? I'll put it on the chart. So with this trade, I'm going to set my stop loss to break even already because I don't like how this trading pair is moving. It's looking real choppy and gappy and stuff. I just don't really trust the volume, so I'm going to just change my stop loss to break even already. Sorry, before I got distracted there, I was talking about I have been using the auto charting tools one a little bit. I've found that these pivot points actually are quite nice to have on the screen. I've been enjoying seeing those. I've been kind of looking at them the same as these W's here, like just kind of seeing which way they're trending. I find is a nice And you know what? That actually, I was going to come around to this earlier. Basically, any. That's USD, not USDT. No, that's USDT. As I was saying, basically any signal, and I haven't back tested this, but I have a sneaking suspicion that if you brought up basically any of the signals, I mean, how I was talking about how these W's trend and just watching which way they're trending when you're selecting an entry, I'm sure you can do the same thing with signals, with take profits, with basically anything. Just as a little bit of added confluence is just seeing which way they're trending, right? Same thing with these signals, totally. Obviously, the sell signals were climbing to the upside. So playing the buy signals to the upside was also the play to do there. So now we can see that the sell signals are getting lower. And that's just generally the direction that I want to play. But I personally prefer the reversal warnings over the actual buy and sell signals. That's just me personally. But just showing you basically how you can do it with many different signals, and I'm sure that's not just the MDX algo indicators, that's also the Trendmaster ones, some other random indicators you may have, just looking for the direction that the same signal is trending, just noticing the direction that it keeps happening, basically just helping you point out a trend. Yeah, the T was cut off. Yeah. I really wouldn't be too surprised. I'm tempted to close this short already just because, like I said, I don't like how the chart is moving. And I also see reason why we would just fill this gap right away, in which case I'll probably just get stopped out. But whatever, it is break even already. So let's just let it run. Yeah, the houses, that is, for anyone unfamiliar, it would be the regular divergences on the ALGO 3. That will be these little house-shaped signals here. So seeing which way those are trending, I can see also being powerful. I haven't used those in quite a few months, honestly. I know they are a great signal, and I can't remember. There's a few different factors involved with that signaling triggering. But yeah, again, just looking for which way they're trending, I'm sure you can find some strong signals there as well. Yeah, see, I think we're just going to fill this gap and stop me out at break even probably right away, but Solana, yeah, I'm not touching that one yet. Even Bitcoin has this little gap on the 1 minute. Must be low volume right now or something. TRB, I have not. Oh, that's on Mexi, hey? Is that Turbo? Ooh, I would love to see something like that come into play. One hour. Ooh. That looks toppy to me. Also, we did have this early warning that the W's may be shifting directions here. Obviously, I don't know how much credit I want to give that since they're so close together. I don't know if I want to consider that a lower low. As far as basic structure goes, for as far as being very zoomed in here, very micro analyzing, I want to see where this hourly candle closes. I'd consider playing this one. Right now we're still kind of flirting with support. And guys, again, this is very micro analyzing. But basically we had this very brief top out here, but we did end up closing candle bodies above that, so we did set a higher high here. So this would be the lowest point between the two. So that's kind of the level that I want to see. As far as a bullish stance goes, they would want to hold that level. As far as catching a bit of a reversal, I want to see a candle close below this level. And then obviously you'd have invalidation if you do end up breaking new highs. Four hour. The thing is, I mean, that is a strong trend. I can't deny that. Let's see if we can find any diagonals here. I'm gonna point out a bunch of them, and then if you feel like it, you can map them out. If not, up to you. That looks like a bit of a trend line there. Let's find another one. Let's just get rid of this one for now. So this is kind of the way I like to do trend lines, is I like to go from the very wicks. This would be basically our least steep one here. Let's just change the color on some of these, give them a little bit of color coding, something like that. I'm actually going to get rid of that one. But those are a couple trend lines I'd be watching as far as diagonal trend lines, just because it seems like we're getting quite a few touch points on that. But yeah, basically the way I look at those trend lines is I just map out theoretical trend lines, and I want at least, like I was talking about earlier, I want at least 3 touch points on a trend line before it breaks for me to consider it valid. So as it stands right now, like this white one, I don't know how much significance that has yet. So let's say that we end up dumping down here. It would be absolutely great if we get a 3rd touch point along this white trend line and then bounce. That would be beautiful, because in my mind that would just confirm that it is a support level, so that would be a potential long entry at that point. But after we get that 3rd touch, and then if we break it and flip that support into resistance, looking for some kind of a rejection there may be a beautiful short opportunity. Obviously, again, a lot of what ifs between now and then, but that's just kind of how I'm looking at that chart for now. Let's get that horizontal line back on there. I am actually interested in that. How big of a range is this? How much leverage am I thinking about using if we get something like that? Ooh, that's actually pretty volatile, hey? Probably wouldn't be using more than 5x on something like that if I was looking at more of a trade off the 1 hour chart. Realistically, I'd end up zooming way in. We may see further upside here for now. Again, just looking at basic structure, we had this low, lower low. This would have been our lower high here. And since we did actually break candles above that, this should be trending to the upside. Except obviously with invalidation below these lows here. So maybe we do get a little bit higher, but I don't know. To me, the fact that we dropped this range, it just doesn't look great to me, especially with such an aggressive sell-off here. I wouldn't be too surprised to see us just kind of trade sideways before taking a further plunge to the downside, but we're going to have to see. I've never looked at this chart in my life, so I don't know if it's going to act the way I'm kind of expecting it to, But I am tempted to throw a little short in this. Again, I would really like to see a lower high come in here. Lower high W, specifically right along that 5-minute trend. That would be beautiful. I'm really tempted to enter just a little bit early here, just because we are trading into this old support. Could then, in theory, be resistance now. And as well, that cloud is above us too. Oh yeah, look at this thing gapping. Let me just check that. Oh yeah, so I was stopped out at break even. Like I said, that wasn't too shocking because as soon as we started gapping and stuff like that, it just looks unpredictable. So I probably should have just closed it down here, but whatever. I didn't. All I lost was 0.1%, I think, is the fees that I pay with MEXC now. If that. Kind of hard to tell how this 1 hour has crossed. It's hard to tell with that leg where it actually is. Let me just reload that. I want to see if that has been fixed with the new... Here. Let's just clean this up real quick. 1 hour, 5-minute. Signals are gone. I just want to see if the 1 hour trend still... Oh, it does still have that leg. That's too bad. I have brought it up. I'll have to bring it up again. Visual order, bring to front, very important. I have a feeling we're getting close to that 1 hour trend. It's so hard to tell right now since it is going up so steeply. It probably corrects very steeply as well. So, oh man, this is just a chart that's hard to trade right now, in my opinion. I assume that we're going to get rejected fairly soon. In my opinion, we'll definitely come back down and fill this gap relatively soon. I am interested in this guy here. What does it mean when there's a gap? It basically just means that I don't think there was any trading. Kind of like usually there's so much liquidity and volume going on. That is looking like a nice short again because I think that is along the 1 hour trend, but I'm just not comfortable trading this one that it's gapping like that. Basically there was just I guess delay in price action, or just like there was such low liquidity while it was trading that between that candle close and this candle open, that's how much the price changed in that time. I'm guessing just the low volume kind of a thing. But generally speaking, I'm sure you've heard the theories that those, like with the CME charts, they like to fill. It would probably be a lot safer trading a coin like this on a longer time frame, though. That is the 1 minute. When you start, that's kind of the thing with altcoins. If there's not good trading volume on the exchange, I mean, that's quite typical with altcoins with low volume. You don't really see that with Bitcoin too often. I think I gotta roll the dice on a little short. I'm gonna start a very small one, and I'm gonna ladder in. If we end up climbing, I'm only gonna put in like maybe 20% of the position that I want. And if we get up closer to where I have my stop just above here, but if we get closer to my stop loss and we start seeing the signals I want, then I'm going to add. Stop loss. Let's go. 30. Yeah, no, the way that 1 hour candle looks. Also, we have that ALGO 3 trying to call a top here. That signal is not valid until the next candle closes. So right now it's thinking that that was a top. But that's not a confirmed signal until this hour closes. And again, if we end up closing below this line, since it's obviously not ranging, like we don't have a bunch of ranging structure there or anything. This is very micro analyzing things, just looking for the direct swing happening. If we end up closing below that line that I'm interested in, my yellow line there, just again, if we end up breaking out, that's just kind of invalidation if we set a new high. In that case, we would have a new confirmed high or low. If that happens, we'd have our high, higher high. Or, sorry, let me backtrack that. Don't want to confuse you. We would have this high and a higher high, and this would be our confirmed high or low in that case. But obviously, we have to actually invalidate this as the high before that happens. Where did I get in? 29032. Just put it up here so it's easier to see. Memorial Day, I went up north, basically into the forest. Every September long, me and my girlfriend, well, me, my best friend, and his wife, my girlfriend, we go to a camping spot. There's no phone service. There's basically nothing. It's kind of on the north end of a real big lake, and then there's a dam there to produce electricity, and then there's like a river from there and stuff. A very cool area, lots of cool hiking and stuff. And this weekend I'm going on another river paddle. I know the last one was about 62 kilometers. This one's only going to be about 30, so it'll be a lot easier, a lot more chill. But yeah, gonna do another overnight on a random beach kind of a thing with some friends. Core trend bands, I did, is that the one I was looking at the other day? Let me bring that up. The core trend bands, as in the core trend, right? I was looking at... Oh, I need to up my degen level. Here, let me just remove some shit. I was looking at the core trend on some, what was it? I think it was Bitcoin the other day. Maybe it was Solana. No, it was Bitcoin. Yeah, so there's that core trend indicator. Yeah, you probably know a lot more about this indicator than I do, but it looks pretty straightforward. Obviously, support resistance kind of a thing. It looks very powerful in a trending market. Looks like it must just be some moving averages thrown together, kind of like a, what is it? The EMA ribbon? It looks kind of like an EMA ribbon to me. Oh yeah, I did see a couple people talking about using this for and like connecting a bot to it or something. That's so above me. I've never set up a trading bot. I've never done anything like that before. But that's very cool. Oh, you leveled up. Congrats. So yeah, how does that work then? Anytime you come back down into the green, your bot would automatically buy then? Is that how that works? On the shorter time frames, it looks a lot different. That's looks like on the 1 hour is where it starts to get a little more reliable. The 4 hour you use it. Here, let me actually... Holy. Look at Bitcoin go. Good thing we never took that short. Never did get that lower high W, hey? Now we got that warning that we did set a higher high. Don't have the higher low yet. But this is just one of those cases where, hey, we got a higher low, or a higher high, rather than that lower high. So that's just that warning that, hey, maybe this trend is already done. Maybe we are trending back to the upside. So that's where we would start looking more so for higher lows instead. I'm kind of wondering if Bitcoin is going to start going nuts. I wonder if I should consider not being in any shorts. I still really want to see that lower high on this one. But whatever. Have that small position started anyways. If we end up testing back down to the lows here, I'll probably end up closing at least half my position since I am looking at it as more of a scalp at this point. But if we don't get that, then I'm going to hopefully add on the way up if we get that lower high W. And if we don't get that, I'm just going to take a very small loss because like I said, I only put in a fifth of the position that I decided I wanted to throw in. Just because I'd rather bring my average entry up a lot if we are going to climb at all. Just a bit of risk management. That being said, I was about to check something. The core trend, as you were going to teach me a little bit here. For our let's bring that up. Invites only, core trend. Yeah, I'm pumped that there's all these new indicators. I love the fact that these two companies merged. More knowledgeable crypto people, more indicators. It's like Christmas. Okay, so yeah, it's looking like strong support right now then, hey, since it flipped green and it's curling to the upside. I'm assuming that's what you're getting out of the core trend. Oh yeah, just look how beautiful it was up here. A lot of resistance. Anytime you got near it, zoom into a shorter time frame and start looking at shorts while it was red, and same thing for going long in the green. Oops. Here, let's bring up a 5-minute as well. Um, 5-minute use the band oscillator. I assume that's what you're getting at. Oh, no, that's the MDX oscillator 4. What am I going for here? Oh, on the core trend. Ooh, look at Solana go. Sorry, what was I doing here? Okay. I'm just going to duplicate this. We are going to hop into the 5-minute. Going to remove drawings, remove indicators. We are bringing up the core trend. Whew. Bitcoin's looking juicy. All right, so I assume you want me to go into the settings then of core trend. Band types. Trend master. Sensitivity, just keep it default at 5. Ooh, I like the colors. Okay, so it's... See, I've never been much of a Bollinger Bands guy. I guess it just kind of shows like if things reverse, like let's say we get a sell or get a pullback now, kind of a thing. You'd expect it to come back down to the bottom bands, kind of a thing. It's on a pretty steep climb for now. Yeah, I have so much to go through with these indicators. Like I said, it's just unboxing at Christmas here. There's so much to go through. So much to learn from you guys who are familiar with one side of things, and we have another group of people familiar with the other side of the indicators. It's great. Luckily, we have such a nice, supportive community. Everyone's so helpful here. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to have to play around with that a little more. Oh, yeah. Well, This might be the only coin going down right now. Solana's pumping. BTC is pumping. Haven't slept much in 2 days playing with all the new stuff. Oh, I hear ya. Who needs sleep when you can be staring at charts? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's since you guys, well, a lot of you guys are in a much later time zone than myself. It seems like most people are kind of over from like Europe and that side of the world. Um, by the time I wake up in the morning, I feel like I've missed so much, and I'm just disappointed that I couldn't be a part of the conversation earlier. Yeah, it's hard to catch up. Love it. Love that it's so active. Holy man, this stream's been going for almost 2 hours. I should probably wrap things up so I can start uploading it here. This might take a while. I guess basically, guys, I don't. I'm really not that comfortable being in this short with everything else pumping here. I don't know if I want to keep this open. I'm going to keep it open for now. Yeah, we're going to see what happens. But yeah, basically, as I was mentioning, if we do end up pumping up, getting some kind of lower W on the top side, I'd be interested in adding to my position. If we end up dropping down instead and retesting the lows here, I'd be interested in closing at least half my position instead. Or if we just rip right through and we don't get any of those trending W's, or we start trending to the upside instead, we set a higher low kind of a thing, something like that, I'm going to be bailing on my position or just stopped out. And like I said, I really don't care because this position is a lot smaller right now than I'm wanting in there in the end. So we'll see if we do get that lower high. But yeah, that's kind of my plan as it stands right now. This is TRB. I'm assuming that's turbo. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But yeah, any other last minute questions, requests, anything like that? Hopefully the strategies that I went over, hopefully they're all clear for you. Clear as mud. It really looks like we're gonna maybe set a higher W here soon. Interested to see what happens there. If that happens, again, very interested to see if we end up getting a higher low W as well. Now, sometimes something you gotta be a little bit, just something you should know is sometimes you'll see these W's start trending to the upside and you won't actually get a higher low. So, I mean, that's just one strategy, obviously. Just kind of when looking for confluence, which way the W's are trending, but it doesn't always work out perfectly, obviously, because nothing is 100% in trading, right? So, other than that, guys, as mentioned earlier, I'm excited to say I'm now an official affiliate partner with MEXC, where I've been trading for several months now. There's no KYC on sign up. There's tons of altcoins there and stuff. It's great if you're like me from countries like Canada that's getting increasingly difficult to find a decent exchange to trade on. With my referral link down below, once I post this to YouTube, obviously. Especially for my first month, there's crazy trading bonuses I was talking about earlier on deposit worth up to $20,000. Absolutely insane. Obviously, you got to deposit quite a bit of money for that, but you'll also get a 10% discount on already very low trading fees, and you'll get that for life. Like I said, I use this exchange every day. Tons of altcoins, up to 200x leverage for trading for degens such as myself. If you're watching this stream a little later on my YouTube channel, and you appreciated this video, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. If you want access to these beautiful indicators, as well as just being a part of these live streams, part of this community, getting in on other live coaching events put on by myself and others in MDX Crypto's VIP Discord, there's also a 15% discount on the referral link down below for that to join. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.